Coming up in this video, join me for an approach over a dense New York City borough, Queens. With a population of 2.4 million, space is limited and runway 4 arrivals to LaGuardia skim the rooftops of thousands. Join me on this flight on an Embraer 175 from Jacksonville, and despite this being a nonstop flight, we'll have some stops along the way. Jacksonville is the largest city in Florida, but you'd never know it approaching its airport's airline terminal today. With no cars on the road and hardly any people entering the building, it's hard to believe it's got a population of around 950,000. But I'm headed to a city of over 8 million on this flight up the eastern seaboard. Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. New York LaGuardia is on my itinerary today and you're coming along with me. Let's head on into the terminal here at the Jacksonville International Airport. I'm excited because today I'll be flying on Republic Airlines. Today's call sign will be Brickyard. Nice terminal here at JAX. I'm feeling a bit of nostalgia right now. Pan Am and TWA, that's pretty cool. It's great when airports recognize their past, but I'm living in the future and already thinking of the landing runway to LaGuardia today. So for today's approach into LaGuardia, I'm anticipating arrival on runway 4, and I want to bring you something a little bit different. Stay tuned. So let's leave the land side and head to the air side via TSA. Okay, I just cleared TSA. That was a lot of work. I've got a lot of stuff with me today. You know, going through TSA can be a very stressful experience. And one thing that you do have to do is take your wallet out of your pocket and it has to go through the x-ray machine. This is my Extra Parliament wallet. Let me tell you, as I was going through TSA, I almost left it there. I almost forgot about it. However, I do have with me a tracker. This is also an extra product. This absolutely saves my life. So I keep the tracker card inside of my Extra Parliament wallet, and if I ever lose my wallet, well, I don't have to worry because I just go to my phone, use the app to locate my wallet, and voila, I know exactly where it is. The card is a perfect size. It's the size of a credit card, and 3 hours of solar charge lasts 2 full months. So if I'm walking through an airport and I lose my wallet, well, the app on the phone helps me locate my wallet. Here it is. Would you like one for yourself? Well, I've got great news for you. From now until June 20th, if you visit extra.com and enter code MASELLA, you can receive 35% off your extra product. Again, just visit extra.com and enter code MASELLA. That's MASELLA. My Embraer 175 is right there. Originally delivered to Shuttle America in 2008, this Embraer is on final approach to runway 8, the runway that it will be departing on later with me and you on board. The flight is a round robin. It came from LaGuardia and will go back to LaGuardia with the same crew and flight number. It's time to go relax in the Delta Sky Club for a little bit. Delta has a small Sky Club in the terminal. There's a line to get in the Sky Club today. I spent more time waiting on the line for the Sky Club enjoying this view than I did inside the Sky Club. Once inside, I had a bite to eat while still enjoying the view outside. But I'm getting closer to departure time, so let's head on over to the gate. Okay, I did not spend a lot of time in that Sky Club. There was a line to get in, and there honestly was not a lot of seating available. But seat 18D is available and ready to accept me as I walk towards my Embraer 175. But of course, it's impossible to go directly to my gate without stopping to see this beautiful Boeing 757 with the Spirit of Freedom logo under the nose. And there she is behind me, November 202JQ, the Embraer 175 that's going to take me and you to LaGuardia today. Unfortunately, I really can't see much of the aircraft, but there is another Embraer here operated by United Express that I have a nice view of. Today my seat is on the other side of the plane because due to the wind, we'll be landing on runway 4, and this video is all about the low approach over a densely populated area, and the right side does that justice. These people don't know how lucky they are. I'm the only one smiling because we're flying to LaGuardia tonight.
Traveling on Delta Flight 5804 with nonstop service into LaGuardia. At this time, I'd like to begin our pre-boarding process.
Our flight today will be using the call sign Brickyard 5804. Brickyard is for Republic Airlines. They're based in Indianapolis, where the famous Brickyard racetrack is, so that's why the call sign is Brickyard today. Welcome aboard. Let's get seated on the right side of the plane. Not only will this side feature a low approach over a dense urban area, we'll also have some great places to see along the way. Let's not waste any time getting to New York. I'm looking at the wing walker, and I see marshalling wands in his hands, which means it's time for us to push back onto the ramp. So he gets into position, and the tug begins to push us backwards. With the tug removed, we start our taxi to runway 8. Just minutes from pushback, we're cleared for takeoff. Once airborne off of runway 8, we will fly the Crosby 2 departure to Whisper. This is a RNAV departure procedure that's designed for aircraft headed to the north, which is clearly where we're going with LaGuardia as our destination today. Initially, we'll fly straight out, then we'll make a left-hand turn, ultimately flying over the fix of Whisper before proceeding on course. Our flight plan calls for us to fly over the Florence Vortac in Florence, South Carolina, the Raleigh-Durham Vortac in North Carolina, the Hopewell Vortac in Hopewell, Virginia, and the Patuxent Vortac in Patuxent River, Maryland. Flying this route will provide me with some excellent views on the right side of the plane, especially toward the beginning of this flight, and I can't wait to bring some of the places you'll see to you in a unique way on this 2-hour flight to New York. Just after turning to the left on the RNAV departure procedure, we get a fantastic view of Amelia Island on the northeastern corner of Florida. With 13 miles of beaches, this is a popular spot for vacationers, as well as those who call it home. You can see the Fernandina Beach Airport down there, a reliever airport for the airport we just took off from. Fernandina Beach on Amelia Island was once visited by marine pirates and is a great shopping area and a shrimp festival. The end of the island marks the border between Florida and Georgia. Welcome to the Peach State. Georgia's on my mind, and in my view as we continue north. This is Little St. Simon's Island, an untouched island for centuries and part of the Golden Isles of Georgia. A private island, it's accessed by boat only and was originally owned by a Swiss colonist, and today it still has a natural feel about it. There's a private lodge on the island for up to 32 guests there. Further north in Georgia is the Sapelo Sound and Blackbeard Island National Wildlife Refuge, a wildlife habitat on the right, and St. Catherine's Island, a sea island, on the left. North of St. Catherine's Island is Ossabaw Island, seen on the left. Ossabaw Island is Georgia's third largest barrier island. Perhaps the best known town on the Georgia coast is Savannah, with its antebellum architecture and beautiful parks sprinkled throughout the city. The city is full of charm under a covering of Spanish moss. It's the oldest city in Georgia and played a key role in the American Revolution and Civil War. Let's take a deeper look. Let's send it on down to Peter, who's in Savannah. Well, thanks so much, Peter. Savannah is an absolutely gorgeous city. Come, let's take a look. SAV is the airport code for Savannah and the abbreviation for the city. It has a great waterfront on the Savannah River with a rustic look. Modern shops are located around old warehouses. There's really no riverfront like this. You can even take a ferry across the river, which is a busy shipping channel for a very important port. Savannah is known for its multiple parks, and perhaps the best known park is Forsyth Park, a 30-acre park with this fountain installed in 1858. The parks, with their Spanish moss on the trees, are welcoming, abundant, and charming. I love this town, but up at 30,000 feet is my flight taking me from Jacksonville to LaGuardia, so let's head back aboard the Embraer 175. Thanks, Peter. That was nice of you to show us what it's like down there. On the other side of the Savannah River, which we see here, is the state of South Carolina, and the most popular spot on this part of South Carolina is Hilton Head Island, a resort island named after Captain William Hilton Jr., an explorer of the area. Let's send it down to Peter, who's on Hilton Head Island. Thanks, Peter, so much. Well, Peter here again down at Hilton Head Island, and this is what it looks like. This is the actual beach. I'm going to send it back up to you in the air right now. Thanks, Peter. Oh, I sure wish I was down there. No, I don't. I'm on an airplane and I'm having the time of my life. I hope you're enjoying this flight as much as I am today. As we leave the Hilton Head Island area, we continue along the South Carolina coast. Just north of Hilton Head is St. Helena Island, seen on the left. At this point, we're continuing to fly northeast, and we move further inland. As we moved inland, clouds became more abundant and it was harder to see out, so I'm going to focus on the standard terminal arrival route to LaGuardia, the Corey 4 arrival, which begins at Patuxent River, Maryland. We'll continue straight along to the northeast right towards LaGuardia for now. In my last approach to LaGuardia, we flew the Milton 4 arrival, which is for flights coming from the west. Even though that flight originated in Atlanta, we could not fly the Corey 4 arrival like this flight will because of weather to the south of LaGuardia, which caused the flight to fly north towards Cleveland, then east on the Milton 4 arrival. Since LaGuardia only uses one runway for landing, arrivals on the Milton and Corey arrivals will converge at a fix called Apple, just south of New York City, where air traffic controllers work to ensure that all flights are sufficiently spaced for the final approach. Now remember that at the beginning of this video, I mentioned that we would be landing on runway 4, and I checked the wind for the time of my arrival to predict that runway 4 would provide the best headwind for arrivals, and runway 13 would provide the best headwind for departures. Now, up to about 25 minutes before landing, the wind was favorable for arrivals to land on runway 22 with departures off of runway 13, and that was indeed the runway configuration while we approached the state of New Jersey, but as I anticipated, the wind changed and we were eventually set up for an approach to runway 4. However, since runway 4 is the same runway as runway 22 but in the opposite direction, the approach controller had to ensure that all arrivals have landed on runway 22 with no one on approach before the first plane can land on runway 4 due to the wind shift. With so many planes coming into runway 22 by bypassing the airport to the west, then turning right to the north, then back around to land to the south on runway 22, the first several flights that were scheduled to land on runway 4 were asked to enter a hold to allow all of the runway 22 traffic to clear the airspace and land before the first arrival to runway 4 can approach and land. We were part of this group, so we had to make a turn over central New Jersey before continuing on the Corey 4 arrival. That's the turn that you see here. Fortunately, we made only one spin before continuing on our way. Under the control of New York Approach Control, we continued on and descended toward LaGuardia. For this video, I won't be providing ATC like I normally do, but of course I'll be describing every step of the way. So again, why am I on the right side of the plane? Well, that's because I've already made many videos of the Manhattan view on the left side, and many viewers have asked that I focus on what the other side of the plane has to offer. This is the Low Queens approach, and it's going to be exhilarating, flying over homes at extremely low altitudes as we fly the ILS approach to runway 4. After flying over northern New Jersey, we fly over the lower bay of New York Harbor, and in the distance we can see Sandy Hook. We're ending flying on the Corey 4 arrival, and the approach controller is having us intercept the localizer of the runway 4 instrument landing system. Once on the localizer, we'll call the tower and get clearance to land. Stormy weather had been brewing in the New York City area, and I'm so happy I chose a seat on the right side of the plane for this view. With a cloud cover, the view was evenly lit, and when I did peek at Manhattan on the left side of the plane, the buildings seemed to be in a somewhat smoggy condition. This approach will feature 2 New York City boroughs. The first will be Brooklyn, and the second will be Queens. We're descending to 3,000 feet to a point called Benning, which is directly above the point where the undercarriage of this plane will cross the land border from the bay. In a moment, we're going to get our first view of land in New York State, specifically Breezy Point, and it will be visible under the wing. Despite us flying over Brooklyn first, then Queens, in the distance, Breezy Point is actually part of Queens and on a peninsula, the Rockaway Peninsula, which helps form the southern border of Jamaica Bay, just north of it. And the land directly north of the Rockaway Peninsula is Brooklyn. And we're going to focus on Brooklyn now, as Coney Island in Brooklyn comes into sight. Coney Island, despite its name, is a peninsula, but originally was an actual island until the 1930s. It's famous for its amusement park. Coney Island is also famous for its beach and has a very rich history of having resorts and being a getaway place for residents of nearby Manhattan. Also well known on Coney Island is the famous Nathan's hot dog eating contest at the original Nathan's Famous restaurant. The island has a rich history in the city of New York, so it's great that passengers on the right side of the plane get to see this as one of the first sightings of land in New York City. Just north of Coney Island is Gravesend Bay and the neighborhood of Gravesend. The curvy highway is called the Belt Parkway, and it forms a belt-like circle. It extends into Queens. We've just made landfall on the Runway 4 ILS system over Benning at the Bath Beach neighborhood of Brooklyn. And we're passing by the Bensonhurst neighborhood now, descending from 3,000 feet to 1,800 feet. Bensonhurst is a primarily residential area with a large Italian, Chinese, and Hong Konger population, just to name a few. That's followed by the Mapleton section of Brooklyn. Again, this is a very ethnically diverse neighborhood, and that's going to be true for virtually every neighborhood that we're going to see out the window on approach today. The weather isn't perfect, and at the moment, a gust of wind shook the aircraft for a brief moment, shaking the plane and making the camera shake. In the distance, we can see Jamaica Bay and all of the Rockaway Peninsula on its south side. The park-like area down there is actually a cemetery, Washington Cemetery, made up of 5 separate cemeteries. It was established in 1850 and is primarily a Jewish burial ground. Beyond that is the Brooklyn neighborhood of Midwood. There are so many neighborhoods down there, and Brooklyn is the most populous borough with a population of over 2.7 million. With so many people, there are multiple burial grounds. Toward the bottom of the screen, there are several square-shaped park-like areas. Upon first view, they may seem like cemeteries, but they're actually residential neighborhoods. These areas have a high concentration of trees on the sidewalks and in their backyards, giving the appearance of homes being in a park. These neighborhoods include West Midwood, Flatbush, and Prospect Park South. Despite the high concentration of residences in Brooklyn, there is indeed room for trees to grow in Brooklyn, and a walk among these neighborhoods is unlike a walk in any of the more densely populated areas. And in the airspace up here, this is around the point where we check in with the control tower at LaGuardia Airport straight ahead of us for landing clearance. Below us is Prospect Park. We can't see it, but it's the second largest park in Brooklyn. It covers 526 acres. What we can see, however, is another park-like area in the East Flatbush neighborhood that's indeed another cemetery. This time we see the Holy Cross Cemetery. This is a Roman Catholic cemetery and is run by the Diocese of Brooklyn. We're now over a fix called Rahel, and we can descend further along the glide slope to Runway 4. Under the wing, the long tree-lined street is Eastern Parkway, which leads to Grand Army Plaza at the north end of Prospect Park. Construction on Eastern Parkway began in 1870, making it the first parkway to be built in the world. It's very noticeable from the air because of its width. The parkway includes service roads and is tree-lined, and you can see trees that are very easy to spot when you fly over a major city like New York City. As we move along, we approach a fix in the sky called Dennis. Dennis is 6.2 miles out from touchdown, and we need to cross it at 1,700 feet. The next 2 neighborhoods are Crown Heights and Bedford-Stuyvesant, but before we go too low, I want to point out something in the distance. Just by the winglet of our Embraer 175 is a straight line along Jamaica Bay. That's Kennedy Airport, and we have a good view of its longest runway, runway 13 right, 31 left. As you can see, the path that we are taking conflicts with the straight line from that runway, so traffic patterns are designed for flights to and from JFK to turn before landing or after takeoff to avoid LaGuardia flights like the flight we're on now. Arriving flights to JFK will follow Jamaica Bay's west shore north, then turn right to land, and if flights need to depart in the direction towards where we're right now, they need to turn left after takeoff and head out toward the Atlantic Ocean along the west shore of Jamaica Bay. We are now crossing the border between Brooklyn and Queens. It's a rough border that extends from the East River on our left to Howard Beach near JFK Airport. We are looking at Ridgewood, and just under the wing, the park area contains 2 cemeteries. Below us, and mostly on the other side, is Newtown Creek, which extends from the East River. Many of the companies in the buildings below rely on the creek for the transport of goods, which is why we're seeing larger buildings, but the Queens residences return very quickly. We're coming up on the fix Warren, to be crossed at 640 feet. Warren is the last fix on the final approach course. From here on, it's just straight into runway 4. Directly ahead of us are the approach lights to the runway, and the pilot does have those approach lights in sight. That's part of the ILS landing system. The highway that you see below is the Long Island Expressway. If we were to land on runway 31, we'd actually turn right at this point, then follow the expressway, then Flushing Meadows Corona Park, and a left turn to the runway, but we continue along to runway 4 now, on a 44-degree heading. The cemetery down there is the Mount Zion Cemetery, another Jewish cemetery. We're looking at the Maspeth and Elmhurst neighborhoods of Queens. Again, those are diverse neighborhoods. Queens has the most language diversity of anywhere in the world. We're about to cross Queens Boulevard, which is 7.5 miles along and a major street in the area. The train tracks that cross Queens Boulevard are the Long Island Railroad, which transports passengers to Manhattan or Long Island. While continuing over Woodside, the final neighborhood that we will see is Jackson Heights before we land on runway 4 at LaGuardia. This is the most exciting part, knowing that you're just hundreds of feet above the rooftops of thousands, descending lower and lower in an ultra-urban environment with a runway of 7,000 feet just ahead of you, just past the Grand Central Parkway. While the other side of the aircraft provides the amazing Manhattan views, this is the closest we can get to where thousands reside. We're about to end our journey in the capital of the world. All right, finally I can see my aircraft in its entirety. All right, blast from the past again. I've arrived at the old Terminal D, now called Terminal C, but to me it's the old Terminal D. This is a long walk. All right, well, I'm headed towards the baggage claim area here in Terminal C. Thank you so much for joining me on my flight on Republic Airlines from Jacksonville to LaGuardia. If you're not a subscriber to my channel, I invite you to click on the subscribe button below, hit the bell button, hit the like button, and be advised that I will be back very soon with another video just like this. Thanks, everybody, and see you at an airport.